Good morning, welcome on the tutorial video on solving diamond problems. I'll be explaining how to solve a diamond problem and what we're going to be using them for. So the diamond problem is something that we use to help us factor trinomials. It's real simple to solve one. The top of a diamond problem is the product of two numbers, so let's call number A times number B, and the number written in the top of a diamond problem is the product of two numbers. So if you look at the example here, the first example, in the top is negative 15, so that negative 15 represents a product of two numbers. In the bottom is the sum of the same two numbers. So I chose a number A and a number B. When I add them together, the sum is in the bottom here. Okay? So in the first example, the two numbers that we use for this diamond problem, the sum is 2. Okay? So now, the two numbers here on the side were the original numbers A and B. So when I took this number A and B, we wrote the product in the top. When we took the sum of these two numbers, we wrote the sum in the bottom. Now, how these diamond problems are set up, you have the product, you have the sum. Now what you need to figure out is what were these two numbers. Okay? So we're going to figure out A and B. So, for example, I know the product is negative 15. So I'm going to think of all the number pairs that make a product of negative 15. So negative 15 times 15, that would give me a product of negative 15. However, the sum of those two numbers is 14. The sum doesn't match up with the sum that I'm looking for. So my two original numbers were not negative 1 and 15. Now, we can also use 1 times negative 15. It also gives me a product of negative 15. However, the sum for these two is negative 14, doesn't match the 2. Now, another product pair would be negative 3 times 5. When I look for the sum of these two, negative 3 plus 5, that gives me a sum of 2. Now I have a sum of 2 and a product here of 15. So my two original numbers, the solution to this diamond problem, will be negative 3 and 5. The next example, we now have a product of negative 21 and a sum of 4. So we start over again. Now, the product of 1 times negative 21, you can do it in your head. That does not give you a product of negative 4. So let's start with a different pair. So if I do 3 times negative 7, that will give me a product of negative 21. However, the sum is negative 4. Doesn't match up, but it's close. It's just the opposite. Now in this case, just switch the negative signs for the integer. So you get 3 times 7. That gives me a sum of 4. So the answer for this diamond problem is negative 3 and 7. Now the last example here, the product has to be negative 24. The sum has to be 5. If I multiply, let's do 12 and 2. Negative 12 times a positive 2. That gives me a sum. Sorry, it's not equal to. Gives me a sum. Then I think I'm going to just off the screen here, so I'm going to just take it and write the sum down there. The sum of this will be negative 10. Okay? doesn't match up. Now at this point, if I just switch the negatives, I'm going to just end up with a sum of positive 10, so I'm not going to try that one. So now let's try 4 times 6. Now one of those two needs to be negative because the product here will be 24. So let's make this one negative. Now the sum of this one is going to be negative 2. Not what I'm looking for. Look for a sum of 5. So now we're going to go ahead and try another pair. And I think 3 times 8 would make 24. So if I make it negative 3 times 8, that gives me a product of negative 24. And the sum here is 5. So the final answer to this diamond problem, negative 3 and 8. Now practice some of these on your own, and you'll see when you get good at these, it makes your factoring a lot easier. How to apply this for factoring, you'll see in the next video.